Welcome to MoonDog Media Sessions.
Hey everybody, this is Mike B. Dillon from MoonDog Media with episode 2 of Sessions. Our platform, of course, as you know, if you're becoming a fan, is to make sure that the musicians that are working right here in the state of Alaska are able to get their work out there, especially, with this past year being as crazy as it was. So tonight we are doing a singer-songwriter showcase. I'm joined in the studio today by Roland Roberts, who I'm just meeting just now. And actually, we might have met before doing other shows out in the valley.
Yeah, probably real quick. If you got a 1/4 inch, no, I meant an actual mic cable. Sorry, did I say 1/4 inch? Yeah, here.
Right.
Something like that, I bet.
Pretty much, that's how it goes, yeah. So tell us about yourself. What are you doing as far as music? Where are you from? Where are you going?
Man, I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee. I was born there. I went to school down in Alabama. I moved out to Colorado shortly after that. I lived in Denver for about 10 years and moved up here in the spring of 2018.
Yeah.
Bought some land and built a little house right at the bottom of Hatcher Pass out there just outside of Palmer, and still figuring it out.
Right. Yeah, we got I've run into a lot of musicians that come up here from Colorado.
Yeah.
And I've done sound for a bunch of them. It's kind of, you guys definitely create some music down there.
Yeah, it's a real booming town. It's Denver has really become a haven for a lot of the Midwestern acts in the last, I would say, 10 years. I mean, I feel like when I first moved there, it had some serious roots, but it didn't really start to come alive until roughly 2008 or so. And that could be just me. Like, that's when I started paying attention. I really don't know. But I know in the 10 years I was there, it really started to boom. A lot of new venues opened, and it was a real great place to start figuring out what you were doing as a musician.
Mm-hmm. And you probably had to step up on that coming from Nashville as well.
Yeah, from Memphis.
Memphis, yes.
It's a different scene than Nashville entirely. And I don't even know if I'd go as far as to say I came from Memphis, because I was a kid in Alabama. Mm-hmm. I was born in Memphis. Most of my people are there still, but I really grew up in Alabama and then came into my own as an artist in Colorado. But I certainly am very rooted in the Memphis sound. My grandfather was huge in Memphis music, and my dad was an old Memphis guy. He was a Memphis musician in the 70s and played a lot of drums. And so I started, my very first listenings of music were Sun Records and
Nice.
Jerry Lewis and
Yeah.
Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash and that bunch. And then sort of kind of went from there. But I mean, my earliest recollections of jumping around to vinyl records in the living room were definitely the Sun Records sound. So I think I have a really strong influence of that from that region. But I wouldn't go as far as to say that I'm a Memphis artist or anything like that,
There you go. Absolutely. So what do you got going right now? Is it you come up here to Alaska? It's 2020.
Yeah, I got here
kind of crazy.
in the summer of 18, and I came up on a tour in the summer of 2017. I was still living in Denver, and decided to just drive up and take some time and do some fishing and camp and just kind of hang out and see what was up here. I had always wanted to do that, and I never had the time. And long story short, in the spring of 17, I realized I was going to have about a 3-month gap and nothing to do. And I was like, man, I could literally do everything or anything that I want. My girlfriend and I had broken up. I was self-employed, and I was getting a break between contracts. I was like, damn, I could do anything. Well, what would I do? And I'd always wanted to drive up to Alaska. So I said, all right, I guess I'm going to do that. And I kind of outfitted the back of my Tacoma with a little setup that would keep me on the road for a while, and just took off with no real plans whatsoever. And I think it was my 3rd night on the road. I was down just across the border out of Montana in Lethbridge, Alberta. It's a little college town. Similar to, I would say, like a Wichita, Kansas. Maybe not quite that big, but just a little town, kind of like Lincoln, Nebraska, out on the high plains, middle of nowhere that you've never heard of. And
We got a few of those here in Alaska.
Yeah, just a couple.
Wait, that was a town? What?
Right, totally. You don't even need a stoplight to call it a town in Alaska.
Exactly.
But I was sitting at a pub there having some dinner, and I was talking to the bartender, and he asked where I was headed. I told him I was coming up to Alaska and had some stuff in the works. I had a little show in Chicken that I was kind of aiming for, but that was about it. And then I had a couple of other dates later on in the month over here around Anchorage. But there was enough of a tour, quote unquote, to tell people that I was touring.
Right,
so that's
right.
what I told the bartender. And as I was sitting there eating, the act from that night called and canceled.
Oh.
And so he came back in. He was like, so this is going to seem kind of weird, but I just had a band cancel on me, and I need a music act for tonight. Would you be up for it? Can you do 3 hours? I was like, oh, yeah, sure, no problem. Let me go get my stuff. And so I sat up and did a solo songwriter set for 3 hours and ended up having a real blast. I mean, these people were just good old, they're like Midwesterners, in the U.S., just good folks, and they don't get a lot of out-of-towners coming through. So we had a lot of fun, and that sort of started the trend, because that guy was like, all right, well, if you're heading up towards Edmonton, let me give you another venue to stop through, and I'll tell them you're on your way, and they probably don't have anybody, so they'll be happy to put you up. And it just grew from there. So
that's awesome. That is awesome.
a few days later, I ended up at a festival in northern British Columbia, a place called Atlin Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And there I met some Canadian songwriters, and we just hit it off huge. And one of them is this guy named Gordy Tentries. He's a very good friend of mine now. He lives over in Whitehorse. And we hung out and played some songs and stuff, and when we parted ways, he just kind of said, well, if you're ever back up this way, look me up. With a twinkle in his eye, like, I know you're never going to be back up this way. And I spent 6
Little
weeks
did he know.
cruising around up here and just fell in love with it. So I got back to Denver, and I was home for about a month before I started really thinking I might move to Alaska. And then another month I started telling people I was going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then a month after that I started selling stuff.
Oh, and that's when it really starts. That's when people know
Yeah.
it's serious. Yeah.
And that was in December of 17. And by April of 18, I had gotten rid of everything that wouldn't fit in my truck, sold my house, sold my company, bought a little travel trailer, because I hadn't even picked a town up here. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I just started north, and I drove for some days and got into Whitehorse, and without even calling him, I just went and banged on Gordy's door. I was like, hey, dude, you said if I was ever around to look you up. And he's like messy hair with his coffee cup, like,
What the hell?
You're here.
What's going on?
And we just kind of had a laugh, and then I went on inside and ended up spending about a month hanging around up there in the Yukon, goofing off with him and visiting other friends, and we wrote some songs and really kind of solidified our friendship. And finally one morning I woke up, I was like, all right, man, I'm supposed to be moving to Alaska.
Right.
I gotta go. I don't even know if you're allowed to stay in Canada this long without a visa. And
It's like detour.
so he suggested Palmer at that point. He said, I've toured over in Alaska a lot. I really think you would like Palmer as a musician, and then I know you work in construction too, and I think you could do pretty well with that. I mean, if not in the valley, it's close enough to
Everything
Anchorage.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually live in Palmer too, and I love Palmer. I lived there since '97, and
Man, it's such a great town.
it's so great. It's so great. That, and when you want to get in trouble, you don't have to go too far. It's
Absolutely.
Like, they put all of the trouble all in one block.
Right. I don't live within walking distance of downtown, but I know enough people that do.
Right.
So if you play in a late show, just tell your friend to leave a pillow on the couch for you,
Yep, that happens a lot. That happens
Yep.
a lot for sure.
Yep.
So you got an album that is released already, or is getting...
Yeah, so we put it out in March of this year. Put it out being used very loosely. When I cut the record, I didn't really know what to expect or what might become of it. I had no idea. I was very excited to get to work with a professional producer and session musicians and actually get to take just a bunch of acoustic songs that I'd written into a studio and say, let's see what we can do here. And what we ended up with was something I was very, very proud of. but it still never occurred to me to try to make it, if you will, you know, like that's just never been in my vocabulary. I don't know. I've always thought music's something you do after work, and it's something you do on the weekends. And so even when I had that album, I was like, all right, well, we'll do our own little album release show. We'll try to get it spinning around town and just play some shows in Alaska, and that's just what I'll shoot for. So that was the plan, and we did that. We played our album release show over at the Matanuska Brewing on C Street.
Oh, yeah.
In early March, March 6th, I believe it was.
Yeah, I live about a block away from the Matsu Brewing Company in Palmer, and so it was about every Wednesday, Thursday, just all you smell is hops.
Yep. I believe it. And anyway, so we put the record out, and then, you know, as we all know, about a week later, all hell broke loose. So we had this whole 30 or 40 shows planned throughout the summer, all the festivals and the whole nine. And it just all kind of went up in smoke. And so, like everyone else in the world, I said, well, I guess we'll just see what happens. I don't really know. Right? I mean, we still got a good record, so we'll just see what plays. And we canceled everything across the board. I say we canceled, they canceled. Like everybody was just,
well, I was right there with you, but I had about 8 contracts. I had probably a dozen different shows set for the fair, because you're doing live sound and jumping around and everything. And when I started getting those calls.
Yeah, and it happened really quick.
Fast.
And it was, you know, that element of panic because nobody knew what was happening. It's just what people tend to do when they feel like shit's about to hit the fan. They just start freaking out. And
buying toilet paper. And,
Wasn't that a weird thing? Man, that
weird.
was such a weird thing.
So weird.
But I was happy to be where I was. You know, I'd finished building my house. I was in there. I've got a little bit of land. You know, I can't see any of my neighbors. And as I watched the pandemonium unfolding down in Denver, and my folks live in Atlanta, and I've got some other people and, you know, a lot of family in Memphis, and to see what was happening there and know how much worse it could be, I was very thankful to be where I was.
Absolutely. It just got crazier and crazier and crazier.
It really, really did.
By the time August hit, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to hide.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
done.
I had to travel in June. I had a funeral I had to go to in Memphis. And this was before they had figured anything out as far as streamlining the traveling process. And, I mean, you really would have thought the world was ending. Like, I got off the plane, I had to swap planes in Seattle, and, I mean, the staff had on hazmat suits, like full-on Walter White yellow hazmat suit. It's like, dude, I'm going to die. I don't think I'm going to make it. And it was just a crazy thing. But on top of all that, to have just put an album out, it's like, man, I don't think we could have picked a worse time.
Right.
But you know, you just do what you can. You roll with the punches, and you just keep singing. And sure enough, we managed to get some stuff rebooked throughout the summer with the correct social distance guidelines.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of funny ones. We played inside the racetrack out there in the Butte.
Yeah.
One time, we did a couple of downtown Palmer shows. We played at the Matt Brewing in Eagle River. What's his name? Matt
Tomter. Yeah. Matt Tomter.
So he built that big social distance outdoor
like
place in the back.
Yeah.
And that ended up working out real nice. We went out to McCarthy, played an outdoor show in downtown McCarthy.
Nice.
I guess you'd call that downtown.
Downtown, right? Yeah. The paved part of the street.
Yep.
Yeah.
We did a few little homestead shows. I played one out in Glen Allen. And, you know, just did what we could, but we kind of reveled in the fact that we weren't advertising. We weren't rallying hundreds of people to come out. So we were just kind of coming together as a band and taking our time and just sort of
getting through it
and laughing at just the craziness of it all. It's about all you could do, you know. If you let it sink you, it's going to. And we chose not to do that. And at the end of the summer, we were much more polished as a group. And I ended up, you know, these guys that play with me are just the best. They're just wonderful dudes. And
yeah, I'm hoping that that sometime later on, we were talking about this before we started the show, of getting the whole group down here.
Yeah,
for sure.
I would love to do that. We were supposed to rehearse out at my place tonight in Hatcher, and I canceled practice so I could come down and do this.
Mm-hmm.
And they all said, that's what they said, man, have him, like, let us all come in. Let's do a springtime podcast with the whole band. And so they would love to do it. I've got Matt Fobian from the Ten and the Rafters and the Eternal Cowboys, and he plays with Blackwater Railroad sometimes.
Yeah, I've worked with the Eternal Cowboys and Blackwater Railroad Company quite a few times.
He's their Mando and lead guitar player.
Gotcha.
We picked him up this past summer, and then my really good friend Alvin Fernandez plays bass. He's from Chugiak. And then Matthew Wallace from North Platte, Nebraska. He's been up here about 10 years or so. Mm-hmm. He started out in Girdwood. He plays the drums, and but he's a journeyman for the Electricians Union, so sometimes he gets sent off for a month or so at a time.
Yeah, anywhere. Yeah.
And then we got this other cat named Gene Mason Jr., who's from Anchorage, that plays drums with us too. So kind of switch them in and out, but all really good friends of mine, and that's the best thing. You know, I've played.
Yeah, you got to be friends with the people that you're playing with, otherwise, you know, it's just bad
it's
business
a job.
in music.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
I also play the keys, and I got a bunch of gigs as a piano man for hire in Denver because not a lot of people play the piano.
Yeah,
and
up here there's not many gigs for piano players.
Yeah, I would just show up and kind of go through the motions playing the keys, and it was not nearly as much fun as it is playing with your friends, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. So what we do here at MoonDog Sessions is we offer live performances to the audience in order to get your work out there, and of course, so they can show your appreciation. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a link down there where you can show your love directly to Roland here, and
show some love.
Absolutely, he's gonna be getting up. He's gonna be sharing some songs with you. We record them and master them live right here. And what is the first song we're gonna be listening to, bud?
It's one I wrote a couple of years back. It's called Picture on the Wall. It's number 2 on the new album. The new album is called All About the Timing. You can get it anywhere you stream music. It's up on all the major sites. If you're into old school retro stuff, you can go on my website, RolandRobertsBand.com, and buy a CD. If you got a vehicle manufactured prior to 2010, you can play it in the car. But yeah, it's up. We got a bunch of live videos on YouTube and anywhere else. iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon Prime, Spotify, all that stuff.
And we'll make sure we get the links to those right in the description for this podcast as well.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm gonna
play. If they haven't already popped across your screen, just saying.
But yeah, the first one I'm gonna do it's called Picture on the Wall. I wrote it a couple of years back. Everybody goes to their grandma's house and they've had the same pictures on the wall in their hallway since the 80s in my case, as long as you can remember. And I'd been walking past the same picture of my grandfather, Roland Sr., for my whole life, and all of a sudden I turned and looked, and he was about 35 in the picture. And I was just like, oh, man, we look a lot alike. And that's when the idea for the song came to me, and I started with that one. And then, I don't know, I'm going to surprise you on the second one.
All right.
Call it on the fly. I think I may play a brand new one that's even newer than the record I got out.
A debut? So. Just say debut.
Yeah, we'll just say debut.
It's a MoonDog debut.
It's a MoonDog debut.
There we go. Right.
Absolutely.
So without any further ado, guys, we're going to go ahead and get rolling over to the performance side of it. This will be Roland Roberts with Pictures on the Wall.
This one's called Picture on the Wall. It's a song I wrote about growing up and losing touch with friends and how it ain't really anybody's fault. It just kind of happens. Well, when you were young and the world was yours, you hadn't found out when it rains it pours, had the world at your toes, gonna see how it goes. Nobody ever told you that one day you might look in the mirror and not like the face looking back at you. How could that be true? Back before you knew hard luck, or what it felt like to be so stuck when you're trying to walk but you can't even crawl. Can't tell if you're changing or if you ain't changing at all, like a picture on the wall. I made so many friends all along the way, and even though I don't talk to them every day, I love them all the same. Nobody to blame for growing apart like grown-ups do. It ain't on me and it ain't on you, it just happens that way when tomorrow's today. Yeah, we get so busy, we make ourselves dizzy, like juggling feathers, trying to keep it together. Can't tell if we're changing or if we ain't changing at all, like a picture on the wall. But change is the only thing that's certain, so turn the page and draw the curtain and laugh at how it all just seems the same. Walking down an old road a couple weeks ago, I saw an old friend I used to know way back when it was about to begin. He just laughed and said, when I saw you last, 25 was old, now the future's the past. Just look at us now, I wish that I knew how. Managed to let so much life go by without asking any questions or wondering why. The world seems to turn faster when you're ducking disaster, and I thought you would have changed, but you really hadn't changed at all, like a picture on the wall. Hey, hey. All right, this is a brand new song. I just finished writing it this afternoon before I came down here. Figured it was the least I could do for a songwriter showcase, was write a new song. This is called For the Record. Reading through your last goodbye, I don't see much point in asking why. Your reasons are about what I expected. This old somber storm seems to be my norm. It all looks so old and worn, but I never meant to make you feel disrespected. I never do when I do what I've always done. I'll be the first to tell you I'm the first to run. I thought no one got hurt, but I guess I stand corrected. For the record, you know I still think about you. I would have loved to have found a way to have made you mine. I don't know why things go the way they go, yet it seems they always do. But I've been thinking about you. For the record. We both love the time we shared. No way you could say that I didn't care. I just ain't no good at saying bye. And I never meant to cause you pain or leave you standing in the rain. It breaks my heart to know I made you cry. And hope someday you could understand. I've always done the best I can, and I know that ain't enough without asking why. But for the record, you know I still think about you. I would have loved to have found a way to have made you mine. I don't know why things go the way they go, yet it seems they always do. But I've been thinking about you, for the record. Still think about you, and I would have loved to have found a way to have made you mine. I don't know why things go the way they go, yet it seems they always do. But I've been thinking about you, for the record.
All right. Well, that was Roland Roberts. Two amazing songs, and especially that last one, man.
Thank you, man.
That hit me, man. That hit me right in the heart. It did.
All right. That's what they're supposed to do. So
right.
That's all you can hope for. It's worth $1 million right there. Yeah, I finished that one this afternoon. You know, when you listen to the record, you'll notice about half the songs on there are about lost love. It's an easy topic to write about. Especially if you're always fucking it up like me. And that one was, it's about lost love. I started it about a week ago and banged out the rest of it this afternoon. I had an interview with Jacob from the Frontiers.
Right, Jacob Mann. Yeah, we love Jacob Mann. We've done a lot of work with him, yeah.
And right after that, I was just sitting there. I said, man, I'm going to try to finish this thing before I go down there. And then I did. I got the words done, and then I was sort of singing it in my head in the truck on the way down here, and then I talked myself out of it right before I played it, and then the last minute decided to do it. I'm glad we did, though. I think it came out all right.
Absolutely, I did. I was listening to that through the master mix, and it's guarantee you there's a bunch of people sitting right now watching this show going, damn, where am I going to find him again?
Well,
do you have any plans right now for any performances or?
At the moment, not a lot. I have been talking with Lisa from the Ale House in Palmer, and if they are able to start doing the songwriter sessions in the upstairs space, I may do that in February. I believe February the 4th was the date we had talked about, which is a Thursday, but I'm not certain on that.
No, they usually do them on Thursdays. I started because I did the sound work for the Ale House all through the summer. Yeah, it was like the one contract I was able to hold on to.
Yeah, totally.
And we got everything set up and got a nice system upstairs. And they've been doing it on Thursdays. They're talking about moving it to a little bit later. So for those of you who already know about it, it was starting at 5:30. They're talking about moving it to later on in the evening.
Mm-hmm. But if you just look me up on social media, I'm on Instagram at Roland Roberts, on Facebook at Roland Roberts Band. And if you want to be my friend, you can find me at Roland Roberts, just my personal page. I think more people end up there than on the band page.
Right.
But,
that's where I always go.
Yeah. But I do a fairly decent job of keeping people posted. My good friend and drummer Matt Wallace is also helps me with the Roland Roberts Band page, and he's better at keeping people informed than I am. But we do a pretty decent job of it. I imagine when, January, February, we'll start booking out for the summer. I've got a lot of positivity about the upcoming summer season. I think, compared to last year, it's going to be almost normal.
Oh, anything compared to last year is going to be slightly normal.
But
we got an alien invasion and people be like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, totally. I mean, nothing surprises me anymore. But, even during the pandemic, we met a lot of the right people. We shook a lot of the right hands. I think we're going to be doing real well this year, back at most of the big outdoor venues. hoping, of course, to get on at Salmon Fest. Hoping to play Forest Fair. We did play the virtual Forest Fair this year. Mike Oviatt, who has a big hand in Forest Fair, is a buddy of mine. So if they have that, I feel like we'll be there. If Jason Overby puts on his Pickers Retreat out in Palmer, I feel like we'll definitely be at that one. But, nothing's set in stone. It's all up in the air, just kind of like the rest of the country, one foot in front of the other at this point. But I do think we'll be around a lot. So keep an eye out for us. If you listen to KMBA, Lauren Dixon started playing us on KMBA this week. We had some big press come down the pipe. We made it into Record World magazine, which behind Billboard, I believe, is the second most read publication in the U.S.
Congratulations on that, yeah.
Yeah, that was a huge one. Got on Cashbox Radio up in Canada. Somehow we got down, is it KNLB in Juneau? What's the station down there?
Oh, man, I grew up there. I should know.
I'm drawing blank. The guy,
we'll look it up.
His name is Jacob as well. I'm not Jacob Mann, but Jacob, its last name starts with an L. I'm the worst at that. But he, I sent him some CDs. We're on the radio down in Juneau. Josh Fryfogel's keeping us on Big Cabbage, 95, or Hatcher Pass,
radio,
95.5. And then Rob Bashelbin plays us on Big Cabbage. So
I've known him for a number of years, and when it comes to the independent artists, especially in like the bluegrass, the country, that type of genre, man, he works hard.
Yeah, he and his wife both are very good friends of mine.
Sierra,
They're almost my neighbors. They live about half a mile up the road from me, and he was one of the first people I met when I moved up. And it's been a real joy to know him and his wife, and watching those two little twin boys grow up has been hilarious.
Yeah, I was there when she was still running gigs, like right up until she would, and watching her on stage, and she's a beautiful woman. She's stunning. Really is. She's a stunning woman.
She can sing,
and she's just moving around with that pregnant belly of twins, like nothing was different.
Yeah, Paul, her rhythm guitar player and singer in Brady River, is also a buddy of mine. He comes by the house and hangs out from time to time.
Oh, I love Paul. And he's a teacher too. He's a teacher with one of the alternative schools out in the valley.
Oh, okay.
So we all the time when we're doing outdoor gigs and stuff, I'll have some of his old students will always be walking up and being like, "Paul, hey, Mr. Paul."
Yeah, that's fun.
He's got some stories too.
Good teacher. I bet. I'm jealous of his hair.
Right. He is. Yeah. If y'all don't know Paul, he's got hair going down to his legs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But, man, thanks again. This is the first time I've ever been on a podcast. I feel like we're on Joe Rogan, sitting here with the headphones on and everything.
That's what I was going for, just kind of laid back, and just audio is where my heart really sits. And,
sure. Well, that's a good thing, because the world needs sound men. Being an up-and-comer, I don't have a sound guy 99% of the time, so we have to figure it out, and I've got the patience of a grizzly bear in the springtime, so I'm like, it's not working.
Right. Well,
my drummer is pretty good at it, thank God. He keeps us in line the best he can, but, sound engineering is an art in itself. It really is. Matt out there at Eagle River Matsu Brewing, he keeps a sound guy on staff. We had Rob Rood from I Like Robots,
yes, absolutely. Rob
ran sound, and he
really
was
good.
Phenomenal to work with.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then Mike Scully did the sound out at the Blueberry Ball, and I think he actually goes on the road. But I'm wanting to say it's either Mo or Humphreys McGee, and run sound for them. And he was really, really cool to work with, too, out at Ski Talk this past fall. So,
oh, yeah. We're going to have the Ski Talk people come on here and do something.
Yeah, for sure. Andrea Frost is a good friend of mine. She's having Christmas dinner at my house in 2 days. She's been really big in that. And
dude, they did a lot of work. They
it went up fast, didn't it, man?
Something
oh, my
nobody
goodness.
thought was ever going to happen.
I'm telling you.
It's and it was all nonprofit. It was all by volunteers. And they, in case y'all didn't know, Hatcher Pass, which is an area just to the north of Palmer. Beautiful, beautiful area. They just put a ski lift up there. Yeah. And it was I was there at a bunch of the events when they were raising money for it.
Sure. Yeah. I went to a lot of them. I mean, I don't know where I got the timeline of 10 years, but it seemed like when I first moved here, someone was telling me, it's going to be 10 years before it's done. And
Right.
I couldn't fact check that. I don't know where that came from, but I did not think it was going to be this soon. And then all of a sudden, what has it been? Not even 3 years, and it's done. So that's been
It was
really,
quick.
really cool to
It was
watch that
quick.
unfold. And we were super stoked to get to go out and play for the grand opening party. And it was a really great time. And I think there's going to be a lot of good shows out there.
I
in the
can't wait to
future,
be up
man.
there. Yeah.
What's his name? Marty Rainey.
Marty Rainey. Yep, I've done a lot of stuff with Marty Rainey.
He built the stage out there and brought in a big grand piano, like a full-size
Wow.
grand piano. And I didn't see it, but they said he brought it in with a helicopter and set it
I
down on the
believe
stage.
it. I believe it. That's just
So-
like something that Marty would do for sure.
We did 2 shows, and the second show was on Sunday, and I noticed that no one had played this piano, and he went to all that trouble of bringing it in. So we opened up with me on the keys for like 3 songs, and I don't think any of my friends knew that I even played the piano, really. And I had a lot of friends there. I was like, dude, I had no idea you played the keys. You play the keys all the time. Is this your way of saying you don't like my guitar playing?
Right.
What are you gonna do? But it was fun. Ski Talks, it's just sky's the limit, really, man. They got phase 1 done, and looking forward to it. But
Well, we'd love to have you on here, Roland. Thank you so much. It's Roland Roberts.
Yep.
And we'll have all of his information in the description for the video, and of course anything else that's popped up, because you're going to watch this podcast at least 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we do have another guest coming up here soon. The one and only Miss Witty Youngman is going to be joining us here behind the table. But for right now, we'd love to say thank you one more time.
Dude, thank you guys for having me. Shout out MoonDog Media, MoonDog Podcast, MoonDog Sessions Podcast, rather. Again, my name is Roland Roberts. The album's called All About the Timing. Look it up wherever you listen to your music. We look forward to seeing y'all soon. Thanks again.
Thanks again, Roland. And we'll be right back.
Take care.
Alaska's long summer days and dark, cold winters are hard on your skin. But now, an incredible product from the top of the world is available to give you the relief you seek.
New You Magic worked when nothing else would.
New You Magic is an intensive skin conditioner made in Alaska from 100% natural ingredients. It holds the answer for dry skin, eczema, psoriasis, and more.
You don't have to endure chronic skin problems any longer.
Try New You Magic for natural healing today.
All right, everybody, welcome back to MoonDog Media Sessions. My name is Michael B. Dillon, and we are joined now with an amazing young woman. This is Miss Witty Youngman, and she's here with our singer-songwriter showcase that we're doing for this episode. And I'm just going to start this off really quick. I just got to, first off, how are you? How you doing?
Oh, doing well. Other than these roads, I'm doing well.
Yeah, the roads are kind of crazy. These last couple of days has been pretty nuts. I got to tell you. So we do the open mic out at Klondike Mike's every Tuesday. And the first time that I met Witty, we had a guest host that night. It was the first time that Sabrina Spears. It was 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
And you came in, and she rushes over to me, and she's like, Mike. Witty's here. And I'm like, well, okay, who's Witty? Which I felt horrible because I hadn't heard of you yet, but you've done a bunch of stuff around here. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you took that stage and you started, I think it was the first couple bars, I was over on the side doing my mastering thing, for the person who was before you. But I felt the entire audience just go silent.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nuts. And you've been one of the last 3 weeks, you've been one of the favorites there the whole time.
It's been fun, even with traveling out from Anchorage to Palmer. The people is what makes it worth it for sure. That's why we do it. That's why we share. Right.
You got one fan in particular that I got to mention just because he's going to get a kick out of. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Oh, Mr. Chris.
Mr. Chris. Yeah, we got this guy Chris. He comes out and he's an amazing guy. He's just a big boisterous guy who just loves to be heard himself. And yeah, he's definitely your number one fan at that place right now.
Yeah. The second week that I went out there, he's like, "We come out for you."
Right.
I was like, I just met you last week. All right, that's cool. And then he has a knack for yelling from the back of the room what he wants to hear.
Oh yes.
So
yeah, unfortunately, one of those songs, which I did look into it, and I found out that I can actually get the rights to both of those songs.
Ooh.
We're not going to give a teaser
Yeah.
on this right now. But I did find out, and it's and I can afford it too. So
Cool. That sounds fun.
when we get you in, into that studio, and we'll get that one recorded. And it's every time she sings it, I get goosebumps. I do. Hair standing straight up on the arm. It's nuts.
Thanks.
But why don't you
Thank
tell? Let's hear about you and like you're coming up in music.
Okay. So I was born in southern Arizona and was raised by my dad, my grandma. She ran a church choir, so I was raised in choir, and then went to school, did choir all the way up until 9th grade. And then I picked up a guitar, and I was raised on music like Kool and the Gang and Carlos Santana, and I remember hearing about Michelle Branch. She did a song with Carlos Santana, and I was like, that could be me, because she's from Arizona too, and she started playing guitar when she was 14, and I was like, I can do this. And so picked up guitar, started by teaching myself. I took one lesson. I still have my notes from the one guitar lesson
Wow.
that I had taken. And me and the guy didn't click, but I was like, but I understood what he was saying, and I know where he's going with this. And ever since then, I'm 32 now, so that's a good 18 years of picking up different artists and listening to different guitarists. I've studied a couple of different guitarists and tried to incorporate their style, and I think that's what is reflected in my performance these days.
I have to absolutely 100% agree, and also speak to the differences of style. I mean, last night alone, I mean, you were doing it was like Janis Joplin to, at one point you were doing Bob Marley, and then and then country, and I mean, you do, and it all sounds like you, though. You don't sound I haven't heard you sing a single song yet where it sounds like you're trying to sound like somebody else.
Thank you. Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest questions that I get asked is, how are you not leading a cover band? And it's like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to play the songs exactly how they were recorded. Like, I want to share my version of some of my favorite musicians. Like, I want to showcase other songwriters and other guitarists by creating my own version of it. And so
you do a great job with it. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Do you have anything going on as far as shows that you have planned right now?
So I'm normally on the Saturday market rotation around, and especially in Spenard. That's usually where you can find me every summer. We play at least once or twice a month. And then the dinner crowd kind of Thursday night sessions where I could do a solo show and people aren't like missing out on a dance floor. So once that starts picking back up, I'm hoping to be as busy as I was last year.
Right.
Because I'm getting them Facebook reminders of exactly how busy I used to be.
Oh yeah, that's one thing about 2020 that I have not enjoyed is when you open up the Facebook and it's like memories from this time, and it's just all it is just you working, and actually making money, and it just makes you realize,
true.
I'm just going to tune my guitar again, even though I did it 3 times already in the last hour.
I will say though, since Anchorage has been hunkering down, I did start kind of like a vlog where it was at first called Captain's Log. Like, it was a daily make myself practice something so I don't go crazy or I don't get lazy with my guitar and vocals. And then it turned into kind of themes. So like my Mondays are Watch Witty Wiggle, where you actually see me approach a song that I've never learned before. And
Watch Witty Wiggle.
Watch Witty Wiggle, and it's kind of me explaining how I've always wanted to learn this song, who it is, and how I approach the vocals and the guitar. Whether it's technical on guitar or vocals, I kind of explain why it's difficult for me and they're generally pretty popular songs. Like I did a Stevie Wonder song not long ago, and that got some really good views. And then
that sounds awesome. It's like a real look into your process
of how exactly
the
process of approaching a song that you really want to learn. And then Tuesdays I call it Trusty Tuesdays. Every Tuesday I play an original song. So, and it's like 10 to 15 minute videos, like where I will record the whole thing live. If people are watching with me, I interact with them. I've gotten questions afterwards about, can you, explain a little bit more on this next time? So that's pretty cool, which turned into Technique Thursday, which is where I take kind of a technical song, but it's one that I've practiced and how I overcame the difficult parts of a song.
Well, that's really great, especially because, one thing that I notice is, the fact that you sound different and everything, and then going in to do this vlog and everything up here in Alaska, music is, most people who are in music, they're introduced to it quite a bit later than the rest of the country. Most people who get involved in doing music live, they don't even pick up the guitar until they're, out of high school and such. And with you being able to do that, especially with like our Native American kids up here, and show them that, hey, do this, and being an idol. And have you had any experience with that particular end of it?
So I moved up here when I finished college. That was end of 2013, beginning of 2014. And so I went to college out in Kansas City area. I went to a tribal college and university, so I was always trying to connect with Native musicians. I got to travel out to Gathering of Nations down in Albuquerque, New Mexico. That was super cool, and it just really solidified my outward expression of indigeneity, of just, I can't hide how I look or how I sound, but also people that sound like me and look like me can take it as far as I have as well. When I first moved out here, I was doing grant work with communities along the Bering Strait coast, and so if I couldn't travel with my guitar, it was super easy to find the guitarist in town. And sometimes I was like...
There is always one guitar, and it doesn't matter. You'll always find a guitar somewhere. And
whether I was, tuning it for the first time in a year, or they were so excited to meet another guitarist that they didn't know already, that was really cool, being able to travel to different communities and them seeing like, oh, she looks like me, and look at her go, I get that a lot in town too. I've done a couple of shows for the Alaska Native Heritage Center. I've done a couple of shows over there. Specifically one that I really look back on was the Circumpolar Music Fest. They had musicians tuning in from like around the Arctic Circle.
Wow, that's awesome.
And there was 3 performers from Anchorage, and then there was just like a lot of drum groups and singing groups and so that dance groups and such. And then
that's how we stay warm in Alaska, lots of dancing. Yes.
But let's see. So other than the vlog, I am looking forward to next summer. I just started getting more hitting up more festivals, like Salmon Fest in 2019 was the first time that I had ever traveled, let alone played at it, and that was...
People still tell me, when I mention your name, people are still like, she was at Salmon Fest, wasn't she? And I was like, yeah. So was that an amazing show?
Yeah.
Because I hear about it all the time. And
I had a band, so like we were one of the first stages that you see, and it was the Friday afternoon, so everybody was either getting off work and going straight there, or they'd been there for like maybe that day, and then we got to just hang out and watch all the different music for the rest of the weekend. And 2 of my bandmates were in other groups that had been invited to Salmon Fest too, so I got to go watch my friends, got to just camp and let loose, because we were done Friday afternoon.
Salmon Fest is a blast. It is an absolute blast, period. What's the first song that we're going to be hearing from you?
So I was thinking, I did write a song about the MMIWG movement.
Okay.
MMIWG stands for Missing Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. So I wrote a song called Forget Her Not, which ties back to the Alaska State flower, the Forget-Me-Not. When I played it once, somebody also said that it's the national flower for the Alzheimer's Association as well.
I believe it is, yes.
And so they really connected to it, thinking I was talking about that. But it's
that's great when you have a song it hits people in different ways completely.
Yeah, I think so too. So Forget Her Not is going to be the first song that I'll play.
Nice. And we'll also put up information for that group. Go ahead and say it again.
Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls.
Yeah, we'll definitely throw that up there so you can check out that website if you'd love to give them support. It'd be amazing. We do have a very, very, sadly, a very large problem with that here in the state of Alaska. You can sit there and watch the shows on Netflix that are acting like we're proud of the fact of how many people disappear and meet some tragic ends in Alaska, but it is a very real thing. And one of the scariest parts is how little is known about it. So for right now, we're going to go ahead and have Witty take the stage with the song Forget Her Not.
I'm not one to look the other way. And I got a feeling you gonna listen to what I gotta sing. Only got another minute or two, so I'ma use them to relay this message to you. So many sisters get wronged on the sly every day. They battle between pride and pain, so they tuck it all away. Something's changed her, you can't get her on the phone. Nothing hurts worse than when your sister don't make it home. Now imagine being cornered, feeling so alone. The pain deep within and your beauty feels so far gone. The lights are on upstairs, but you ain't home. And the shame keeps you from the ones that, baby girl, you should be leaning on. Da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Well, everyone in this life deserves the good to outweigh all this bad. And love should never disconnect you from them good times you had. And I can't be mad at you when don't wanna answer your phone. But my heart's sick with worrying if my little sister gonna make it home. Oh, sister, your soul feels so very far away. Oh, sister, tell me, has your beauty gone away to stay? My sister, I need you to tell me, sister, oh, what is there I can do, my sister? No, I can't give up on you. Oh, sister, there's no harm together you and I can't undo. Sister, oh, I need you to tell me, sister, oh, what is there I can do? My sister, can't give up on you. Oh, sister, there's no harm together you and I can't undo. This one's called To You, and I wrote it to my parents, my family, everybody that had a hand in raising me, the village. You held my hands when they were small, wiped all my fingerprints off all of them walls. You brushed my hair, you tucked me in, calmed me down and did it with a grin. Your love so true, I owe who I am to you. You dealt with me in all my attitude, put me in check, oh yeah, you humbled my mood. You led by example when times were tough, never led the show when life got rough. Don't know what to do, so I guess I'll write this song to you. And since I can't be there to chat over coffee, man, I'll sing this song for you. Maybe, hopefully we can agree, even though it may not be so easy to see. Yeah, this song's meant to comfort you as if it were me. It's only what you do if you could sing like me too. I owe who I am to you.
And we are back. And Witty, I got to say, those two songs, that was amazing.
Thanks.
That was that first one, the Forget Her Not. I got to say, you know, us here in the crew, we were watching you sing that song, and that there was a lot of emotion. I mean, I'm sure all the viewers, they saw it too. And is there a specific story behind that, or maybe that you might want to share? Or
honestly, I can't think of any person of color that hasn't had some sort of interaction with somebody who's been assaulted or molested, as well as I'm sure I can count on my hand. Like, it's almost like a degrees to Kevin Bacon. Like, you always know somebody who had something just horrible happen to them and no justice was ever served. Gotcha. So that's kind of the idea behind the movement, is if we talk more about it and advocate for those that can no longer stand up for themselves and speak up, then at least we can honor their memory.
Absolutely,
by continuing to support the red dress movement. You'll see it all over the place, the red hand over the mouth, signifying the silencing of generations, as well as, it's a mark. It's to say, I've been affected by this as well. So definitely, it's been hard finding the words to talk about it. You almost have to have talking points. I feel like there was a time when I was wanting to say so much, but had never heard it myself, had never heard anybody talk about it. So all that came out was emotions. But, even before I picked up guitar, I was a poet. So poetry and words and expressing an idea, an emotion was way easier to me. I think actually putting the lyrics to music is what keeps me from just pumping them out and
Right.
bombarding people with new music. I think I spend so much more time on the wordsmithing of how I speak about something or how I write a song about it.
Well, definitely when with your songs, you're following a story. And all of them. I mean, even if it's just about one simple thing, like that second song, that was a great song. Very simple, just talking about your family.
Yeah.
And how you grew up, but at the same time, there were so many different levels to that song, and especially that trumpet at the end. That was unexpected. That was pretty cool. What about that song's about family and coming up, and we talked about your history with music and what that was. So how was music growing up in your house though?
Yeah, I feel like, because I had a huge family. I had older brothers, and then I had younger sisters. So I was the oldest daughter, raised by our dad, who was totally into soul and R&B, but also listened to like Audio Slave, and then, Temple of the Dog, like Rage Against the Machine. I listened to all that stuff because my brothers were listening to it. We would do chores and somebody would race to play their music first. And
right.
So it was like things had to just be wrapped up at the end of the day, and it always came back to music. And then that was also when it was not going to get in trouble because it's so far past, but that was when you could download any song that you could. Before that, it was, of course, recording the radio. And, as well as...
Oh, yeah. We did that.
But then when I started
so many girls in high school got that mixtape with the secret admirer thing, like stuck to their locker.
Just cute.
Yeah, that was me. I was one of those. I was Ducky. From Pretty in Pink.
And we used to do kind of the same thing like you, and it got easier once we had CDs.
Yeah, because then you could slip it right in the vent of the locker. You didn't have to stick it on the front.
Yeah, and you always had your Walkman in your pocket, and it was like way too big.
Right, the bright yellow sports Walkman. Remember those that had the clasp?
Yeah. And then my first car had a 6 CD changer. So
you were highfalutin.
I took care of it, and I had all of my favorites, and it ranged from. It's actually surprising, but I was an Aerosmith fan growing up too. Cause
who wasn't?
Steven Tyler, his vocals. Like I worship vocalists and guitarists because that's what I want to become better at. And you only become better by listening to those that have mastered it. So
absolutely.
But yeah, music was always a huge part of just like growing up and figuring out how to talk about things. And then I started performing once I got into like my last year of college. So up until my last year of college, I was definitely just a bedroom player. Like I would play, quietly to like myself or my brothers or my mom. And then I didn't really start performing until I was old enough to go out to bars and go to open mics and start just building that friendship family of musicians, and fell immediately into it once I got to Anchorage.
Oh yeah.
Found my people and they've just been in my corner ever since.
Alaska's really great for that, and that's one of the reasons why we were able to start this with MoonDog Media and Sessions is the community up here, the artist community. You know, it's not like you don't run into that cutthroat stuff that you do down south where everybody thinks it's a competition. I mean, I work with bands where I'll have 4 different bands between 4 different weeks, and I will see every single person in all 4 of those bands at least twice. Because they all play together in different projects.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, we should be, hopefully, I've been hitting her up the last couple of weeks. We're going to get her in the studio and hopefully be recording a solo album for you with maybe some other tracks with a full band behind it.
Yeah, I think if anything, learning how to collaborate, because that's where I'm not practiced, is getting it right on one take, kind of. I know there's editing and like a whole background behind it, but most of my work so far has been live, just like in front of people, getting the feedback and hearing myself, as well as being able to listen to it after. And so I've never really put the work into let's make the perfect version of this song,
right? And
like all of us just kind of throw ideas at it and see what sticks. So.
That's, and honestly, that's how we've been doing it. And, it works pretty well. Right now we're looking for songs. We've been doing about 2 to 3 week turnarounds, and that's from nothing. So we get you in there, other artists out there. If you're able to come down to the studio, what it is, we sit down, we get a raw track done. After that, we have a whole slew of musicians that are in the MoonDog pack. That's what we like to call it. Yeah. And exactly. And they come together, and this last artist that we worked with, he had words, and that was it. And within 3 days, we had an entire arrangement. The guitarist, he figured out the progression and the key and the chords and everything, and then bass came in and laid down along with the key and the timing, and then the drummer sat right down and just started playing, and boom, we had our first track off and running. So we try to do it pretty quick. Technology helps out a lot.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
So, anything else that you'd like to say before we say goodnight to you?
Just that you can search for me, Witty Youngman, just how it sounds. I like to say, just think of me as like a really clever, youthful guy. You'll be able to find me. I've got recordings of my live performances out there. I've also done a few kind of home recordings of music that I've written. So you can go on SoundCloud and find a lot of my original music. The songs that I played tonight, I believe, are recorded on there. Also social media, Facebook, you can look for Witty Youngman, but also on all other social media, I'm known as Badfish Ruka, BADFISHRUCA.
All right, we'll definitely make sure to get that in the descriptions right there. Yeah, her name is Witty Youngman. It was a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much. You did an amazing job.
This is fun.
Yeah. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Once again, my name is Michael B. Dillon with MoonDog Media. This is MoonDog Sessions. If you are an artist who's looking for a stage to get on just like Witty did, we do every Tuesday night out at Klondike Mike's in Palmer, Alaska. We do have an open mic where not only can you come on with a great crowd and share what you've got, but you can also walk away with completely mastered recordings of your set. I do them right there stage side. And you've heard the work before. I like to think that I do a pretty good job for a live venue.
Sounds great.
So make sure you show up for that. Check us out on Facebook, of course, MoonDog Media AK. And definitely stay safe, stay shining.